The combat training facility on Nexus Station buzzed with anticipation. Dozens of alien cadets from across the galaxy had gathered for the most prestigious military academy in known space. Today marked the beginning of advanced combat assessment. The air crackled with tension as species after species demonstrated their prowess. Zara Chen sat quietly in the corner. Her small human frame seemed almost fragile among the towering Korathi warriors, the razor-sharp Veltar assassins, and the hulking Thrax berserkers. While others boasted about their homeworld victories, she simply observed. Her dark eyes tracked every movement, every technique, every weakness displayed before her. "Look at the little human," sneered Vextal, a particularly arrogant Korathi whose crimson scales gleamed under the harsh training lights. "She hasn't said a word since orientation began 3 weeks ago. Probably terrified." His companions laughed, their guttural sounds echoing through the chamber. The Korathi were known throughout the galaxy as apex predators. Their home world had bred them for war across millennia. Natural hunters with enhanced reflexes, reinforced bone structure, and razor-sharp claws that could slice through battle armor. Zara's expression remained neutral. She had learned long ago that silence was often the deadliest weapon. Instructor Krell, a grizzled veteran whose cybernetic implants told stories of countless battles, stepped forward. His mechanical voice boomed across the training floor. "Today we assess combat readiness. Each cadet will face randomly selected opponents. Victory conditions are simple. Incapacitate your opponent or force surrender. Medical teams stand ready." The first matches began with predictable outcomes. Thrax demolished Veltar with brute force. Korathi outmaneuvered the crystalline Zephyrians with superior speed. Each victory was accompanied by roars of triumph, displays of dominance that had evolved over eons of warfare. Zara watched it all. Her breathing remained steady, her posture relaxed. To untrained eyes, she appeared almost bored. But those who knew humans would recognize the stillness of a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Chun, Zara. Human. Earth origin." Krell's voice cut through the noise. "You're up next." A hush fell over the assembled cadets. The human girl who never spoke was finally being called to prove herself. Whispers spread like wildfire through the ranks. "She'll be destroyed in seconds. Humans are weak. No natural weapons, no enhanced abilities. This will be entertaining." Zara stood slowly, her movements fluid and controlled. She wore standard-issue training gear, nothing fancy or intimidating. No armor modifications, no weapon attachments. Just simple black fabric that seemed to absorb light around her. The randomization system whirred to life. Names and faces flashed across the holographic display as the computer selected her opponent. The spinning slowed, then stopped. Drak'mor, Apex Korathi warrior, undefeated in 47 consecutive battles. The training facility erupted in excitement. Drak'mor was a legend among the cadets. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, his muscular frame was covered in battle scars that told stories of victories across multiple star systems. His claws had never failed to find their mark. His speed was legendary even among his own kind. He stepped into the combat circle with confident swagger, his scale hide rippling with barely contained power. The crowd pressed closer, eager to witness what they assumed would be a brief and decisive slaughter. "This is a joke," Drak'mor growled, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never known defeat. "I could end this with my eyes closed." Zara entered the circle from the opposite side. Her footsteps made no sound against the metal floor. She took her position and waited, hands at her sides, completely still. "Begin," Krell announced. Drak'mor exploded forward with frightening speed. His massive form covered the distance in milliseconds, claws extended toward Zara's throat. It was the same devastating opening move that had ended dozens of previous fights before they truly began. Zara moved. What happened next defied everything the assembled cadets thought they knew about combat. The small human girl didn't dodge backward or sideways as expected. Instead, she stepped forward directly into Drak'mor's attack. Her right hand shot upward, catching his extended wrist with surgical precision. Her left hand found his elbow joint. In one fluid motion, She redirected his momentum while applying leverage that physics demanded he respect, regardless of his species or strength. Drak'mor's confident charge became an uncontrolled tumble. His own devastating speed worked against him as Zara used his momentum to send him crashing into the floor with bone-jarring force. The impact echoed through the suddenly silent training facility. But Zara wasn't finished. As Drak'mor struggled to regain his footing, she was already moving. Her knee found his solar plexus with pinpoint accuracy. The Korathi warrior's breath exploded from his lungs in a whoosh of surprise and pain. Before he could recover, Zara's elbow struck the nerve cluster at the base of his skull. Not hard enough to cause permanent damage, but perfectly placed to disrupt his motor functions. Drak'mor's legendary reflexes simply stopped working. The mighty warrior collapsed, his body refusing to obey his desperate commands. 23 seconds. That's how long it took for the undefeated Apex Korathi warrior to hit the floor and stay there. Zara stood over his fallen form, her breathing still steady, her expression unchanged. She looked down at Drak'mor with something that might have been pity. "You talk too much," she said quietly. Her voice carried clearly through the stunned silence. "On my homeworld, we have a saying. The loudest dog in the pack is usually the most insecure." She turned away from the defeated warrior and walked back to her corner as if nothing significant had happened. The medical team rushed to attend to Drak'mor, who was slowly regaining consciousness, but would need several minutes to fully recover his motor control. The training facility remained frozen in shocked silence. Cadets who had been laughing moments before now stared at the small human girl with new understanding. Everything they thought they knew about combat hierarchy had just been shattered. Vextal, the Korathi who had mocked her earlier, felt his scales prickle with sudden unease. His species prided themselves on being apex predators, but they had just witnessed something that challenged that fundamental belief. Instructor Krell's mechanical voice finally broke the silence. "Impressive technique. Next match." But nobody was paying attention to the next fighters. All eyes remained on Zara, who had resumed her quiet observation as if the last few minutes had never happened. In the corner of the facility, a group of senior instructors watched the security footage replay. Their expressions ranged from surprise to concern to something approaching respect. "How did she do that?" asked Commander Roth, the station's tactical officer. "Pure technique," replied Master Sergeant Kane, a human veteran who had seen more combat than most species experienced in their entire evolutionary history. She didn't overpower him. She used his own strength against him. Classic human martial arts, but executed with perfection I've rarely seen. The precision was extraordinary, added Dr. Yilnara, the station's xenobiology specialist. She targeted specific nerve clusters and pressure points. That level of anatomical knowledge across different species is remarkable. Commander Roth frowned. Where did she learn to fight like that? Kane studied the footage again, watching Zara's movements frame by frame. That's not something you learn in basic training. That's decades of experience compressed into muscle memory. The question isn't where she learned it. The question is why someone with those skills is pretending to be a regular cadet. Back on the training floor, the matches continued, but the atmosphere had fundamentally changed. Cadets who had been eager to prove their dominance now moved with more caution. The casual arrogance that had filled the facility earlier had evaporated. Word of the match spread rapidly through the station's communication networks. Within hours, everyone from maintenance workers to senior command staff had heard about the human girl who had defeated an Apex Korathi warrior without breaking a sweat. Zara remained oblivious to the attention. She watched the remaining matches with the same quiet intensity she had shown all week. But now, other cadets watched her just as intently. They began to notice things they had missed before. The way she never wasted movement. How her eyes tracked multiple opponents simultaneously. The subtle adjustments in her stance that suggested she was constantly analyzing potential threats and escape routes. She wasn't just quiet. She was hunting. As the day's training concluded, cadets filed out of the facility in small groups, their conversations dominated by speculation about the mysterious human. Theories range from secret military training to genetic modification to pure luck. Zara gathered her gear and prepared to leave like any other student. But as she reached the exit, a voice called her name. Chen! She turned to find Instructor Krell approaching, his mechanical augmentations whirring softly. The other cadets had cleared the area, leaving them alone. "Impressive display today," he said, his artificial voice carrying undertones that suggested genuine respect. "Your techniques were flawless. Your anatomical knowledge exceptional. Your emotional control remarkable." Zara waited, saying nothing. "I've been training warriors for 30 years, Krell continued. "I've never seen a cadet with your level of skill walk through those doors. Which makes me wonder what you're really doing here." For a moment, something flickered in Zara's eyes, a hint of depth that suggested oceans of experience beneath her calm surface. But then it was gone, replaced by the same neutral expression she always wore. "I'm here to learn," she said simply. Krell studied her for a long moment. "Learn what?" "You already know more about combat than most of my instructors." "I know how to fight," Zara replied. "I need to learn how to lead." The implication hung in the air between them. Krell's sensors detected no deception in her biometric readings, but something about her answer suggested layers of meaning he wasn't prepared to explore. "Tomorrow's exercise will be team-based," he said finally. "Multi-species cooperation under combat conditions. You'll be assigned a squad of mixed cadets." Zara nodded. "Understood." As she walked away, Krell watched her go with growing curiosity. In 3 decades of military service, he had learned to recognize dangerous individuals. Zara Chen was perhaps the most dangerous person he had ever encountered, and she was hiding it behind a mask of quiet professionalism that was almost artistic in its perfection. The next 24 hours would be very interesting indeed. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Drak'mor finally regained full motor control. His pride hurt far more than his body, but the physical pain was substantial enough to keep him focused on immediate concerns rather than planning revenge. The nurse, a gentle Veltar named Silneth, checked his neural responses one final time. "You're clear for duty," she announced, "but I'd recommend light activity for the next few days." Drak'mor sat up slowly, his massive frame moving carefully. "That human," he said quietly. "She could have killed me." Silneth's antennae twitched with curiosity. "What makes you say that?" "The way she moved. The precision of her strikes." She held back. He flexed his claws, testing their responsiveness. "She defeated me without using a fraction of her true capability." This revelation sent new ripples of concern through the station's gossip networks. The human girl wasn't just skilled. She was showing mercy to opponents who had shown her nothing but contempt. That night, as Nexus Station entered its sleep cycle, Zara sat in her small quarters, reviewing tactical manuals. But her mind wasn't on the text. She was thinking about tomorrow's team exercise and the challenges it would present. She had come to Nexus Station with a specific mission, one that required her to blend in among the cadets while gathering crucial intelligence. Defeating Drak'mor hadn't been part of the plan, but his arrogance had forced her hand. Now she had attention she didn't want and questions she couldn't answer honestly. The next phase of her mission would require careful navigation between maintaining her cover and completing her objectives. Outside her window, the stars wheeled slowly through space, carrying secrets across a galaxy that only a select few were privileged to know. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new dangers. Zara Chen closed her tactical manual and prepared for another night of light sleep, her subconscious mind already planning for whatever tomorrow might bring. The game was just beginning. Human Girl was silent in combat class, then dropped Apex Warrior. Without blinking, dawn broke over Nexus Station with artificial precision. The lighting systems gradually increased their intensity, simulating a sunrise that had never existed on this manufactured world floating in the void between stars. Zara Chen was already awake, having spent the night in meditation rather than sleep. Her quarters were Spartan. No personal effects, no photos from home, no mementos that might reveal her true identity. Everything about her presence here was carefully calculated to appear ordinary while concealing extraordinary purpose. A soft chime announced an incoming message. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the face of Commander Roth. His expression was carefully neutral, but Zara detected subtle tension in his jaw muscles. Cadet Chen, report to Conference Room 7 immediately. The transmission ended without waiting for acknowledgement. Zara dressed quickly, her movements economical and precise. Whatever this meeting involved, it wasn't routine. Conference Room 7 was located in the restricted section of the station. As Zara approached, she noted the increased security presence. 2 guards flanked the entrance, their weapons powered but not drawn. Professional caution rather than overt hostility. Inside, she found herself facing a panel of senior officers. Commander Ross sat at the center, flanked by Master Sergeant Kane and Dr. Yilnara. The lighting was deliberately harsh, designed to create psychological pressure during interrogations. "Sit," Rock commanded. Zara complied, her posture relaxed but alert. She had endured far worse interrogations than this. "Your performance yesterday was remarkable," Rock began. "Too remarkable for a standard cadet. Your techniques demonstrated knowledge of Korathi anatomy that isn't taught in basic training. Your combat skills exceeded anything we've seen from human recruits." He paused, studying her reaction. Zara gave him nothing. "So I'm going to ask you directly. Who are you really?" The question hung in the air like a blade waiting to fall. Zara considered her options. The truth would end her mission immediately. A lie would eventually be discovered. But there was a third path, one that required careful navigation. "I'm exactly who my records say I am," she replied calmly. "Zara Chen, civilian volunteer from Earth Colony Designation Gamma 7. Kane leaned forward, his weathered face skeptical. "Colony Gamma 7 was destroyed by Thrax raiders 12 years ago. No survivors." "Almost no survivors," Zara corrected. "The official records are incomplete." Dr. Yilnara's antennae twitched with interest. "You're claiming to be a survivor of the Gamma 7 massacre?" "I'm not claiming anything. I'm stating facts." Roth's expression hardened. "The Gamma 7 incident is classified at the highest levels. How would civilian colonists know details about official records?" Zara smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. It was not a pleasant expression. "Because I helped write those records." The admission created a moment of stunned silence. Kane was the first to recover. "Impossible. All Colonial Defense Force personnel at Gamma 7 were killed in action." "Not all," Zara said quietly. "Some of us were very good at staying alive." She stood slowly, her movements causing the guards to tense. But instead of attacking, she began removing her jacket. Underneath, her arms were covered in intricate tattoos that seemed to shift and flow in the artificial light. "These aren't decorative," she explained. "They're service records. Each symbol represents a mission, a kill, a life saved. This one," she pointed to a small triangle near her shoulder, "represents my first confirmed elimination. I was 14 years old." Dr. Yilnara gasped. "You're a ghost operative." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Ghost operatives were legend among military circles. Elite human assassins trained from childhood to operate behind enemy lines. They were whispered about in the darkest corners of the galaxy, feared by every species that had ever encountered them. Former ghost operative, Zara corrected. The program was officially disbanded after the Korathi peace accords. Unofficially, some of us continued operating under different designations. Roth's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on her tattoos, recording every detail. "What's your real mission here?" "Intelligence gathering. We've received reports that someone within the Academy is selling weapons technology to Thrax raiders. My job is to identify the source and eliminate the threat." Kane whistled low. "That's why you're playing the quiet cadet. You're hunting." "I was hunting," Zara replied. "Yesterday's display may have compromised my cover, but it also provided valuable information." She moved the room's holographic display, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced expertise. Security footage from the previous day's training session appeared, frozen at the moment of her victory over Drak'mor. "Watch the crowd," she instructed. "Specifically, watch for anyone who isn't surprised by the outcome." The footage played in slow motion. As Zara defeated the Apex Korathi warrior, faces in the crowd registered shock, disbelief, and fear. But one figure remained calm, even satisfied. There! Zara pointed to a tall figure in instructor's uniform. Sub-Commander Velkis. He knew I could fight. He's been watching me since I arrived. Roth studied the image. Velkis has been with the Academy for 8 years. Exemplary record. Check his financial records, Zara suggested. Cross-reference with recent Thrax weapon acquisitions. I think you'll find some interesting patterns. Dr. Yilnara accessed the Academy's database, her fingers flying across the interface. After several minutes, she looked up with grim expression. Large credit transfers to off-world accounts. The timing matches recent Thrax raids on human colonies. He's been feeding them tactical information, Zara continued. Weapon specifications, defense protocols, patrol schedules. The raids have been too successful to be random. Kane stood abruptly. We need to arrest him immediately. No, Zara said firmly. If you move now, you'll only catch one traitor. I need to trace the full network before they disappear. Roth considered this. What do you propose? Let me continue my mission. But now you know who I really am, we can coordinate more effectively. Today's team exercise will provide the perfect opportunity to gather more intelligence. And if Velkis realizes you're onto him, Zara's smile returned, cold and predatory. Then I'll handle the situation appropriately. The meeting concluded with new understanding between all parties. Zara's cover was maintained, but now she had support from Station Command. As she left Conference Room 7, her mind was already planning the next phase of her operation. The team exercise began 3 hours later. Cadets were divided into mixed-species squads and assigned complex tactical scenarios. Zara found herself leading a team of 5 cadets, including Vextal, the Korathi, who had mocked her the previous day. I don't take orders from humans, Vextal announced as they reviewed their mission parameters. Then you'll fail, Zara replied calmly. And failure here means you don't graduate. Your choice. The mission was deceptively simple. Navigate through a simulated urban environment, locate and extract a high-value target, and return to base while avoiding enemy patrols. Standard military exercise with one twist. The enemy patrols were controlled by advanced AI that adapted to cadet tactics in real time. As they entered the simulation chamber, Zara noticed Sub-Commander Velkis observing from the control booth. His presence wasn't unusual, but his intense focus on her team was notable. Move out, Zara ordered. Her team consisted of Vextal the arrogant Korathi, Linnera a swift Veltar scout, Grom a powerful Thrax heavy weapon specialist, Kira a precise Zephyrian sniper, and Jack a versatile human engineer. On paper, they were perfectly balanced. In reality, they had never worked together, and their species had historical conflicts. The simulation began with immediate complications. Enemy patrols were more numerous than expected, their patterns more sophisticated. Within minutes, it became clear that the AI had been programmed with detailed knowledge of standard Academy tactics. Something's wrong, Jack whispered as they crouched behind simulated debris. The AI is predicting our movements too accurately. Zara nodded grimly. It's been fed our training data. Someone wants us to fail. Through her earpiece, she heard Velkis providing guidance to other teams. His advice was sound, professional, and completely inadequate for the enhanced challenges they were facing. Change of plans, she announced. We're going off-book. Vextal bristled. The mission parameters are clear. We follow established protocols. Established protocols will get us killed, Zara replied. Linnera, I need you to scout ahead using unconventional routes. Avoid the main corridors entirely. The Veltar scout's antennae twitched uncertainly. That's not standard procedure. Standard procedure is failing. Move. Linnera hesitated, then followed orders. Her natural agility allowed her to navigate through ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels that the AI hadn't accounted for. Within minutes, she reported back with crucial intelligence. The target isn't where the briefing said it would be, she whispered. It's been moved to a heavily fortified position 3 levels down. Zara processed this information rapidly. The mission had been deliberately sabotaged. Either the briefing was intentionally false, or someone had altered the parameters after the teams deployed. Grom, can you create a distraction on upper levels? The massive Thrax warrior grinned, revealing rows of sharp teeth. I live for distractions. Kira, I need precision covering fire when we make our move. Can you handle targets at extended range in low-light conditions? The crystalline Zephyrian's body pulsed with soft light. My species evolved for exactly such conditions. Jack, you're with me. We'll need to bypass several security systems to reach the target. The human engineer nodded nervously. I can handle the technical aspects. What about me? Vextal demanded. Zara looked at him with something approaching pity. You're going to learn what real leadership looks like. The next 30 minutes were a masterclass in unconventional warfare. While other teams followed predictable patterns and fell into carefully laid traps, Zara's squad moved like smoke through the simulation. They avoided direct confrontation, used misdirection and environmental manipulation to confuse the AI, and adapted to changing conditions with fluid precision. Grom's distraction was spectacular. He single-handedly engaged 3 enemy patrols on the upper levels, his heavy weapons turning the simulated environment into a war zone. The AI committed significant resources to contain him, leaving other areas vulnerable. Kira provided covering fire with surgical precision. Her shots eliminated key targets at impossible ranges, clearing paths for the rest of the team. Her ability to see in multiple light spectrums gave them advantages the AI couldn't counter. Linera moved to the facility like a ghost, gathering intelligence and identifying weak points in the enemy's defenses. Her reports allowed Zara to plan their route with perfect timing. Jack proved surprisingly resourceful. His technical skills allowed them to bypass security systems that would have stopped other teams cold. More importantly, he began anticipating Zara's orders, demonstrating the kind of tactical thinking that separated good soldiers from great ones. Even Vextal began to understand. His initial resistance to human leadership gave way to grudging respect as he witnessed Zara's tactical brilliance. By the mission's end, he was following her orders without question. They reached the target ahead of schedule and with minimal casualties. The extraction was flawless. Their return to base a textbook example of coordinated teamwork. As they emerged from the simulation chamber, Zara noticed Velkis's expression had changed. The satisfaction was gone, replaced by something darker. He had expected her team to fail, possibly to be eliminated entirely. Excellent work, Instructor Krell announced as the results were tabulated. Team 7 achieved mission success with the highest efficiency rating in Academy history. Other cadets stared at Zara with new respect. Word of her previous victory had spread, but this demonstration of leadership abilities elevated her status even further. That evening, as cadets celebrated their successes and mourned their failures, Zara received an encrypted message on her personal communicator. The sender was anonymous, but the content was clear. Your cover is blown. Extract immediately or face consequences. She smiled grimly. The trap was finally springing, but not in the direction her enemies expected. Zara Chen had been hunting for weeks. Tonight, she would finally catch her prey. As Nexus Station entered its sleep cycle, shadows moved through corridors that should have been empty. The final phase of her mission was about to begin, and before dawn broke again, the galaxy would be a safer place. The hunt was over. The reckoning had begun.